Hello everyone and welcome to Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. How are you today? It's just me today, and I'm going to be talking about some PR tips and PR trends for 2026. I try to do this at the end of every year so you can be thinking ahead about the media, storytelling, and things that may come up which you can maybe tune into or tap into in the coming year. I've got loads of tips. I can't possibly remember them, so please excuse notes on this one occasion. Take notes from anything that I say that resonates with you, put it in your diaries, put it in your planners, and just fill your boots. So I'm going to give you some general advice first. One of the things that comes up in the world of PR, and I think will come up more and more, especially if businesses are having a tough time, and especially in the SME sector, is how do you prove that PR is worth the money? Okay, with budgets being tighter, many people want PR to deliver results. But what I'll say to that is this is not sales. PR is visibility. It will lead to sales in the medium to long term once your profile starts to be established. You will start to feel when this is changing, but it will not be instant. We are talking really at least a year if you've never done media outreach before. And remember here, I'm talking about the bit of PR that is press relations or media outreach, not the other stuff that you might do, not your website, not your socials, not your networking, not your awards, whatever it may be. I'm talking particularly here about media outreach. But remember, one of the things you should be looking for is coverage. Coverage with backlinks is gold dust, and it will become more gold dust in the future, and I will refer to that later on. But if you ask your clients or anyone who's making an inquiry how they heard about you, that's also a good way of measuring PR. The odd thing is that mostly they will say something like, "Oh, I'm not really sure. I think I may have read about you somewhere." And usually that comes from two places. An article they've read somewhere, it may have been recent, it may have been less recently, or social media. Because if you think about it, that's how you buy things. That's how things come into your orbit, into your consciousness. And we can't always remember which exact post, which exact blog, or which exact media article. So you have to remember that it's not linear, it's not always easy, but generally when someone says, "I just know," or "I think I read an article about you," or "I saw you mentioned somewhere," that is usually what people are referring to. It is not always easy to have a direct line of sight between a single article that comes out and a single sale. It can happen, but it is rare, so you need to be realistic. The other thing about the importance of PR is owning your story. So it's not enough in 2026 to just rely on traditional media. You have to broaden your mind. You have to actually almost become your own media too. You need to be proactive, almost like being your own publisher. So this is about engaging with guest posts, influencers, podcasters, YouTubers, people like me, not only in my PR world, but also as a business owner. It's about your own newsletters, your own blogs, your own video, as well as third-party engagement. So you need to become almost a publisher for yourself. And I predict this will increase and become increasingly important in 2026 and beyond. Now, another thing that's going to come up and become more obvious, and we hear it all the time in business, but particularly for younger generations, is that people tend to trust people first, not logos and brands. There are, of course, exceptions to this. I might be thinking of, say, I don't know, Virgin, Apple, British Airways, just three I've thrown in there. But the truth is those brands spend millions a year maintaining that reputation, maintaining the reputation of the brand. Most of us in the small business sector cannot even begin to aspire to that kind of spend. So we have to work much harder at people trusting people. So you will find that brands and voices with a face, leaders, staff, customers, carry more weight than any kind of corporate or brand messaging. So focus on personal branding, thought leadership, and lived experience. Another thing that will continue to be a thing in 2026 is tighter communities and therefore smallest influencers. Think hyperlocal, which will become very, very important, and the value of small, local, hyper-local media outlets. So in Swindon, we have something called the Swindon Link magazine. We have Wroughton Living and other small magazines, which you will have in your own communities. These are really important. Focus on those, and they will also survive most likely when other local newspapers may not, or weekly newspapers may not. Also, think of community radio. Again, a really good way of speaking to a concentrated number of local committed people. Same with smaller influencers. It might be a Swindon blogger or a blogger who covers your particular area. Look for those people. Can you engage with them? So think smaller influencers, tighter communities. Niche networks will become more important, and it's obvious, it's right in front of us. Look at all those Facebook groups and groups that speak to people's hobbies. And then when they get too big, it might be, I don't know, crochet makers in Swindon or West Swindon or North Swindon, because the original group becomes too unwieldy and too big. We actually think as communities and in silos based on where we live and our interests. So we need to pay attention to that as a business. Also, real relationships with journalists. I've always pushed this. Really important, particularly for national press. Do not work with PR people that send out your press releases via a database, thus scamming 400 journalists who are not interested in that story. It is better to have one or two real meaty contacts in the national media. And the reason for this is they know each other. It's a small media landscape. So if Liz is a really good contact for you in the national media and she writes about A, B and C, and you're interested in D, E, F, Liz will probably know who writes about D, E, F. 1, 2, 3 really good national contacts are better than trying to spam everybody with your stuff when it's not relevant. So real relationships with journalists can work very well locally too. If you can take them out for coffee, if they've got time, just do it. Okay, remember, reputation first, not damage control later. This really relates to crises. If you feel something is going wrong, seek to protect your reputation at the moment that you sense that is going to happen. Otherwise, you're into damage limitation when something has gone wrong. So really think about that. For most small business owners, things go wrong around 2 areas: social media chatter and staff issues. They're the 2 main ones. So if you're working with something like me and you think something's going south, you tell me immediately so we can make a plan. Because once the crisis has happened, you're going to be paying a lot of money to recoup your reputation or mend it, and you might not succeed in doing that. This obviously depends on the scale of the issue, but think reputation first at the very moment you think things might go south. Somebody like me might actually be able to stop a crisis happening. We might be able to move it away from the public domain. We can't promise this, of course, but 8 times out of 10 we can do that as long as you have given us notice of it. So remember, reputation first, not damage control later. Another thing that's going to happen more in 2026 is internal comms is going to be more important than ever. This is not something I deal with particularly a lot. I tend not to work with big corporates, but you need to be aware of this, especially when we are in a situation we've got 4 generations in the workplace at the same time who all will communicate differently. This means miscommunication is a bigger risk than ever. So internal comms, repetition of comms, getting fed up of saying the same thing but doing it again is the way to go. Also, focus on simpler, plainer language. Don't get caught up in jargon externally or even internally. Nobody talks in jargon. It's not police speak or corporate speak. Just be human in the way you communicate. Please pay attention if your company name keeps being changed by the media, or a word you like internally is often changed by the media. It's usually because the word doesn't work in the public domain. Pay attention to that. Instead of getting mad at the media for it, ask, why is this happening? Is it because the word we are choosing to use doesn't actually make sense to a normal, reasonable person? So many times we get caught up in corporate BS. Don't do it. It just makes your brand look frankly daft. Ethics and transparency will become more and more important, particularly if you want to recruit younger people, because they care about this far more than older generations of my generations or the baby boomer generation, if they're still working. They will make decisions about where they stay, not just on salary, but on the ethics and behaviour of a business and how transparent you are. So this is going to be more important. And one of the ways you demonstrate ethics and transparency is through PR. And by that, I mean press and media outreach. So do think about that, and internal comms. Deal with stuff early on. Don't let the rumour mill carry on if something is going on. Chinese whispers are very damaging, both internally and externally. And be adaptable to what the media is offering you. The amount of times I've had people saying, oh, you've not presented me with any media opportunities, and you've offered them 10 podcast opportunities, the opportunity to be on the blog of an international company with much, much higher reach than you. These are media opportunities in the real world. Don't get stuck on old-fashioned ideas of what the media is. Okay, I'm going to turn the pages, folks, because we are now going to talk about what kind of things come up every year that can make really good stories, both for local press and national press. And often national press will pick it up from local press. So please think of some of these things. I'm going to, first of all, say the importance of local media. Local stories for local people in local communities are your bread and butter for any business. And local can mean where your business is based or where all your offices are based. So you might have several media lists. Don't forget the BBC now with this, because the BBC are covering far more content online, even if they don't use it for local radio. So include the BBC in your storytelling and your outreach. Okay, an ongoing topic will be anything around climate stress, adaptation, resilience, sustainability. That will continue to be important. So if you are working towards net zero, trying to be more climate aware or sustainable, talk about it. No greenwashing, you have to actually be doing it. Equality, justice and social infrastructure will come up, maybe not relevant to many businesses, but it will come up. Mental health, wellness, identity and well-being will continue to be a trend. Talk about it, especially if you're doing it in your business and how you've supported staff. You don't need to be specific about staff. You can be very general. Maybe gather some stats about how you're helping people if you're a bigger organisation. Okay, tech and society tensions, AI will come up, and this will come up again and again. Really important if you're in the tech sector, but actually important for all of us. Any small business owner who's willing to talk about how AI, they use it to impact their business positively, talk about it. But one thing about PR is this: people will start to search using AI tools. They will do it spoken. They will speak into ChatGPT or Claude or others to find the products and services they want. So you need to think about, am I appearing in those searches? This will be huge in 2026 and it will keep growing. ChatGPT has grown in terms of its users in 2 years to the heights it took the internet to grow in 10 years. That is the scale of things here. So PR and media outreach will become more important, not less, because chances are AI tools, when they go off and search for the top 10 PR companies in the Southwest or in Swindon and apply those searches to your business, they will look for third-party validation for media coverage, blogs on other sites, someone else talking about you. And the more you have of that, the higher up the rankings you're going to appear. So people like me will become more important to businesses, not less. Please think about public behaviour when they're seeking to buy. Right, the media are also looking for other things like everyday genius, so ordinary people solving problems in odd or clever ways. This includes businesses, but don't say things like, I've written a book about it, or I've got a new app. There are millions of those things. And don't say things like, there's no app out there that does what I do. How can you possibly know? The truth is you can't. And the media will just look at that and think, there are millions of books, there are millions of apps, so it must be truly disruptive. Animals behaving like people, the media love anything like that. In fact, anything that's quirky or cute with an animal will work very well. So if you're an animal-focused business, you need to be pressing that button. Little videos, little pictures. Obviously, you have to have permission of the owners, or permission to use pictures or videos of their animals. You don't need to name the owners to do that. So think about that. Tech gone wrong. Because we're talking so much about tech and AI, the times when things go wrong will become very, very important. Don't hide from it if it's you, but if you can comment on that. So this is be the continuation of cyber hacks, security issues, all of those different things. Nostalgia always is very popular with the media. They're looking back. Nostalgia, vintage, history, things that happened in the past that are quirky and unusual, where you can evidence it through objects, photographs, or something real that will visually illustrate the story. That's always really good. So anything nostalgic, looking back, throwback, and you'll find that TV follows this as well. So you get the back in time to the who do you think you are, all that type of thing. So that's really good to think about. Micro communities can be interesting. I've already touched on this, but I don't know, really, really tiny niche subjects that nobody will have thought about. If you've started something and it's very niche, that could be a story. Unexpected heroes. We all like those stories. The light workers, the people in your community that are doing something for nothing, children who've raised money for charity. People love those stories. Look out for unexpected heroes, even within your team, and big them up, celebrate them, obviously with their permission. Extreme local pride. So, I don't know, town sittings, claiming bizarre records, or inventing festivals that, might be around nothing, might be in a street. I'm not talking about things like putting flags up for negative intentions. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about towns, villages, cities, communities that are saying, we're here and we're going to celebrate, I don't know, the unusual name of our town. It could be anything. Think quirky. Unusual pairings, the media like those. So people from different worlds, sectors, different ages, teaming up as friends, teaming up in business. Look for anything like that. Red tape stories are funny where they're true, quirky stories, anything around absurdity where you think, oh, that's weird, that's a bit odd. That can be a story. And feel-good rebellion is one thing that's going to come up more and more. Positive disruptors, people who stand up and say, no, for positive reasons, I'm not going to be like that. You'll know these people when they pop up. And if they're within your business or organisation, or they've led to a business idea or a social enterprise, stand up and be counted, because those are really, really useful things. Okay. And I just want to talk through what the intangible results of good media outreach are for 2026 and forever, to be honest. I'm going to end on this. Good media outreach in the modern media leads to a few things. Credibility. Other people saying good things about you and your business. Trust. Helps people get over the line in dealing with you and creates confidence. This is a long-term goal. Influence. You become a person where the media thinks that person is credible enough to be asked their opinion on things. What are their advice and tips? Access and visibility. Being known to be friendly, media friendly. People will assume that you're open for business. It also leads to relationships and goodwill, which is linked. It's linked to credibility, access, and visibility. It creates internal pride or a feel-good factor within a business or organisation, however small it might be, because your team will know that you care about them and you want to celebrate them, and that really helps with team cohesion. Confidence also for investors and stakeholders and partners. If you're looking to get investment, if you want to create collaborations with others, if you are being looked at as a member of a trade organisation, or you want to go for funding or something like that, grants, they will look for you and they will gather evidence. So it's really, really good for that. And finally, reputation insurance. If your reputation is strong and a little thing hits, your reputation may survive it. You will need a strategy around this, but it's really important to be able to weather those storms which come for all businesses. And finally, I've got to reiterate, please remember how AI will affect in 2026 and beyond how people buy and their buying decision. And make sure you go with that flow. Make sure you do not stick your head in the sand. Be a person who's positive and who moves forward with it, not someone who gets stuck in the mud. Thank you very much for watching and listening to all of my tips. I hope that's useful for you. Take what you want from it. Feel free to ignore the rest. Have a very happy Christmas. And if you want to check me out over the Christmas period, I'm at scottmedia.uk, or pop onto Facebook, Fiona Scott's PR Tribe. Ask to join. It's totally free. Leave your email address. I share lots for free, also from other journalists. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Fiona Scott. Thanks very much, and speak to you soon.